Hello everyone, this is Jan, and I'm here in my kitchen gonna make 3 batches of soap. So here I have my water dissolving in the back. I like to make my soap on the stove because I have the fan that can exhale the fumes or take the fumes out of the kitchen for me. So I've dissolved in my water, I've dissolved some salt and some sugar in here, some pink Himalayan salt and some organic cane sugar. The salt makes my soap harder and the cane sugar adds bubbles. And I'm gonna just be adding my lye. I'm gonna dissolve all of my lye in here and bring these to room temperature because I do like to soap now at a low temperature. I like to soap at room temperature, just is a lot easier, I think. So I'm gonna add the lye and wait patiently while they cool. And in the meantime, I'm gonna go to my garden and get some aloe because I'm gonna add, it's gonna be 3 different soaps with, well actually it's 3 of the same soaps with different fragrance and different color. So each one of these is gonna have about 5 ounces of aloe gel in them. So I have to get the aloe and put it in the blender and liquefy it and measure it out for each of these. So I'm gonna go do that while the lye dissolves and cools. And I'm actually gonna put in a little bit of silk into each one of these as well. So I'll be back. So I have my lye that is in there added. And I did add some Tessa silk fiber. And I add just a little bit, and you can see it's floating around in here. And the lye will dissolve it. It'll take a little while, but it will dissolve it. And I have my fan on because it does smell. So out to the aloe garden I go. Here I am in my little aloe garden that I've planted. I have, actually this was my very first aloe plant, and off of that came all of these. And then last year I bought this other big aloe, and all of these have come off that. So I have an abundance of aloe, and I'm going to try and incorporate it in drinks and many different things. But the way that you're gonna, let me get my cord out of the way here, harvest the aloe is I'm gonna pick the leaf that is laying the lowest to the ground, and I already know that that's this one here. So I'm gonna cut as close to the stem of the aloe plant as I can, and it will just scar over, and see, that is gel. It will heal itself. And then I'm gonna go in and I'm going to harvest the aloe out of this gigantic leaf. So to prepare the aloe, I just washed the whole leaf and I cut it into sections. So I got 3 sections like this. Then I cut the sides off. You want to cut the side off, like I've cut this one off. I need to cut the other side off here. And then you just take your knife and you go in between the skin and the gel, which I've already removed one side of it. So I'll go and do the same to the other side. And then you have your piece of aloe leaf gel, and then I'm going to put it in the blender without adding anything to it. Just blend it up, and then I'll measure off 5 ounces for each of my soaps. Okay, so over here I have my aloe blended up, and I did add a couple ounces of water to it because I was off 2 ounces. So I added 2 ounces of water. I'm going to let the bubbles come out in the foam. And over here I've measured out my hard oils into 2 bowls. I don't have another one, or I would do all 3 at the same time. Very important to use a scale. So I measured out my cocoa butter, measured out my palm kernel, and I measured out my coconut oil. And now I'm going to melt these in the microwave. And that's how I do it. It's much easier than using the stove. So I'm going to melt these. And then I'm going to check the temperature using my hot gun, my temperature gun of these, to see after I get all these soaps melted what the temperature is. Okay, so I have all of my hard oils melted here, which is my cocoa butter, my palm kernel oil, and my coconut oil. And so now, or actually this is the one that's melted, I put it on the scale and I add my olive oil and my castor oil to this, my liquid oils. And so now the temperature of this, now it's ready to go. I could add my lye if my lye was ready. The temperature of this is 97 degrees, but the temperature of my lye is 138, and it's been about an hour, maybe 45 minutes. Now everything's dissolved in there, but it's still, you're talking about 40 degrees temperature difference between the two, and that's just a little bit too much. I think it should be 10 to 20 degrees difference, no more than that. So I'm going to wait a little bit longer, but while I'm waiting, I'm going to prepare my colors. So I know that the first batch of soap that I'm going to make, now let me tell you, each batch of soap is 4 pounds. That's what I'm working with. I'm going to be using the 2-pound silicone molds, the loaf molds. And 2 of these is one of my batches. So I have 1 batch, 2 batch. The 3rd batch, I'm going to use the loofahs and I'm going to dip them. So the first batch, I know I'm going to be working with Kermit green mica. And I'm going to add 1 teaspoon to this 1 ounce of olive oil. And my second color is going to be Fizzy lemonade colorant. And I'm going to add 1/2 teaspoon to my 1 ounce of olive oil. And then my third one is going to be Lavender Mica. I'm going to add 1 teaspoon to this ounce of olive oil. So I have reduced my olive oil that I've added to this by 3 ounces. So here are my 3 ounces. And then the fragrance I'm going to use, I want a nice springtime fragrance to match these colors. It's going to be pineapple cilantro. And you can see by this nice label Brambleberry has put on that in cold process soap, it discolors to ivory, so it will be okay, and it's not going to make my soap brown. There's no vanilla, which is what turns your soap brown. And so I'm going to use actually 4 ounces. I'm going to use the whole thing, and it'll make a really nice soap. So I will mix those up using my little one of these little hand mixers to mix it up real nice, and then just wait a little bit longer until my lye cools a little bit more. Usually what I like to do is I like to mix my lye the night before, leave it on the counter, the stove, until my children do not touch this or it will burn your skin. And then that way it can sit overnight. By the morning it's room temperature. I know that I can bring my oils to room temperature by melting the hard oils first and then adding the olive oil, which is at room temperature. I can at least get it into the 90s. So if my lye is room temperature at say 76 and my oils are say in the 90s, I know I'm okay there. So that's usually how I like to do it. But so we'll come back. Okay, I have emulsified the oils, but they're still very thin, which is how I really do want to keep them, because since I'm working with colors, it didn't take very long at all. I mean, literally I stick blended for about 30 seconds. So now I'm going to add the yellow colorant over here to this part. And then I'm just going to get the bubbles out of my stick blender. I did find somebody, my husband came in the room, so I said, grab the video. Okay, so here's my yellow. I'm going to move on to my green right here. And I'm going to get the bubbles out, and I'm going to just mix this up real quick. You want to work from lightest to darkest colors, so you don't have to really clean off your stick blender between, you know. And then I'm going to move over to the purple, and I can see that the soap is still thickening, even though I'm not blending it any longer. It is thickening. Okay. There we go. I think this will make a really pretty soap. Purple, green, and yellow. There, see it? You can see it's at a medium, a light to medium trace. See right there? So it'll pour really nice into my mold. Just gonna give the yellow one another swirl. And the green. And then I'm going to start to pour right now. So, I'll show you what I'm gonna do. Let's move over here because we're done with the stick blender. Okay, so I'm gonna pour the yellow in the bottom about, oh, I don't know, an inch, a layer an inch thick. And for both of these, because I'm making, each one of these is 2 pounds, remember? So there we go. Now I'm gonna pour down one side, I'm going to pour purple, about half of my mixture. On the other side, I'm gonna pour green. And my soap is thickening. The higher up you pour it, the deeper it will go into your soap. So I wanna do that because it's getting thick and I don't want it to just sit. I don't wanna layer my soap, I wanna swirl it. Okay. I'm gonna pour another layer of the yellow. Just a thin layer. And this is gonna be right across the middle. I really have not got any remarkable way of doing my hanger swirl. Down the side again, and you can see it's definitely thickening up. I'm gonna save a little bit to decorate the tops. Oops, hold on. And I see that I have a little bit more on one than the other. Okay, I'm gonna give them a bang. Just to kind of flatten them out. And then I'll show you the hanger, what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna insert the hanger, this is from Brambleberry, right down the center. And then I'm going to go that direction. I'm gonna go towards my left and I'm gonna turn and turn. 3, 4, 5, back down the middle, towards me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's how I like to do it. I'll do the same with the other side and then I'll fix the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And now I'm just gonna fix the top up, and I'll fix it up with a chopstick around the top. Okay, and I'll show you when it's all done. Okay. Okay, there they are. They're all done, and they're going to go into the oven, which is not on. I'm just using it as a place to store them until they're hard. What I did in the top is I used the chopstick to make a swirl. I drizzled the remainder of the colorant, those 2 colorants on top, and then swirled it in. So into the oven it goes. Remember, the oven is not on. I'm just using it to insulate the soap. And on to the next one.